first time I was told that I was going through a severe depression, I tried to convince my psychologist that she was wrong. I'd met her the week before and we'd done some tests together. I told her a bit about my backstory, why I was there, and I just assumed that she would tell me, oh, you just got a little bit of anxiety. So when she sat me down and she showed me the results, there were 2 dots that were really, really high up the chart, and she was like, okay, so this one is your anxiety. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course, that makes sense. I'm an anxious person. Yeah. And then she's like, and this one right next to it, she's like, that's depression. I remember looking up at her and I remember wanting to cry and feeling completely overwhelmed and then trying to convince her, like, no, I can't be depressed. I'm not depressed. I'm just anxious. I couldn't be depressed, right? Even though I was crying multiple times every single day and I was having panic attacks every time that I had to try and leave my house. I completely self-isolated and I would only go to work and come straight home, and as soon as I came home, I would sleep. As simple as taking care of myself or making meals for myself didn't seem necessary, so I'd often skip them in favor of sleeping. But I couldn't be depressed, right? Because I had moved to Sydney, something I'd wanted to do for the longest time, and I had a full-time job and I worked in the industry that I wanted to, right? Because from the outside I looked fine, and in my mind it wasn't that bad because people had it way worse. How could I ever complain? I worked with the psychologist for a bit and it was great because she explained the neural pathways, why my brain was doing certain things, what my thought processes might have been and why they were doing that. And the way that she explained it made me feel less alone. I learned a lot from my experience going through that, but 2 of the main things that have been sticking out to me recently is 1, it doesn't have to be as bad as everyone else's for it to still hurt you. Secondly, and this realization occurred later, because that happened in my life and it impacted me so much, I knew that I had to make changes in order to ensure that it either didn't happen again or I knew how to deal with it when it did happen. In order to do that, I continued to see the psychologist. I started looking at apartments by myself and I ended up moving into this apartment a week before we went into the pandemic. I was starting to feel like myself again, so I was starting to feel more creative, and when we went into the pandemic, I panicked a little bit because I knew what it felt like to be in that position and I didn't want anyone else to feel that way. So I thought, let me make silly little wholesome videos in hopes that if I can make one person smile and maybe feel a little bit better than what I did when I was at my low, I can do something to help. And yes, it did hurt, but it led me to this, so I like to think sometimes, I'm like, maybe they balance each other out because this is so worth it. So recently, while I've been going through it, I've been reminding myself, like, yes, it hurts now, but what if it becomes something so much better, because it has before, and that doesn't mean it's going to every time. Sometimes it's just gonna hurt, but maybe it'll be something so amazing if I'm just patient and kind with myself. You can work on this together. It's okay. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I would like you to know that you have someone in your corner, someone cheering you on, because I know that it can be really difficult, and I'm here. All of this is to say that I love you, I adore you, I wish the best things for you, and I really do. Please drink your sky juice. I'll see you next week.